if he was ever going to have a good season and become a really good and really established Premier League player, it's now. If he plays well, the team will play well. And if he doesn't play well, the team will slightly underperform. I feel like he will be in demand next season 100%. He'll be the breakout player for Arsenal this season. He'll be the player that potentially in 12 months' time we'll look back and think, yeah, he was very good for Arsenal this season. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2 Foot Tackle podcast. Welcome to episode 1 of season 2. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, and we are back. We're back. Season 2 has arrived. Season 2022-2023. Second season of the 2 Foot Tackle podcast, although really the first season was only half a season, but I digress. Yes, good to have you all. Good to welcome you back for another season. Of course, we did have the 5 episodes in the off-season, but we're back for a full weekly podcast from today. It's going to be good. Can't wait to be back. Can't wait to get stuck into it once again. For those who are new, please make sure you subscribe. Please sure you leave a like on the podcast and go back and listen to some of the off-season podcasts if you want my opinions on some transfers and what have you, and as well on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and missed one, Anchor. That's the one I missed. Just give it a 5-star or a thumbs up or whatever the rating system is. Just make sure you follow and subscribe on every single one of your respective platforms. It would mean the world. Now, pretty bumper episode today, so let's just crack into it. One breakout player at every Premier League club. Bang. It says it on the tin, really. There's not a lot more explanation for that. Now, I just want to preface this. These players won't necessarily be, these aren't underrated players, but these are just players who I think will take the next step. So let's just crack into it, because there's 20 teams, and if you do your maths, 20 times 1 is 20 minutes. 20. So that means 20 minutes, and I probably want to spend more than 1 minute on every player, which means I don't want this podcast going for 400 hours. Now, let's start with Arsenal. Let's go with Arsenal. Now, with Arsenal, there was a couple of players I could have gone with. I was thinking, of course, your typical just Sackers, your Smith Rowes and all this stuff. But I was thinking, who's a player that hasn't really played for Arsenal yet and hasn't really hit the ground running, and it's kind of been underwhelming? And my mind went straight to William Saliba. Now, while he's not underrated as such, I think personally he'll come in and play and be immediately the best centre half of the club. I think he is better than Ben White. I think he's slightly better than Gabriel Magalhaes, and he's the perfect partner to Gabriel, in my opinion. Such an excellent ball-playing centre-half, can really do a whole lot and can really be the general in that Arsenal defence, and they haven't had that in a long time, pretty much since maybe a prime Laurent Koscielny, but even still, they haven't had that leader in defence. And while that is more, Gabriel is more of your presence, Saliba is more than capable of being that mean centre-back that can really take a strike out of the game, and he's also very modern in the way that he plays the game as well. Can be a ball-playing centre-back, can take the ball, can carry the ball, and I think he'll be the breakout player for Arsenal this season. He'll be the player that potentially in 12 months' time we'll look back and think, yeah, he was very good for Arsenal this season, and he led them to potentially a top 4 place, if not at least a challenge for a top 4 place, and potentially even some silverware in the Europa League or FA Cup or League Cup or whatever competition they pick. But I could have gone with the Sackers, Smith Rowes, but I feel like they've already broken out to an extent. I feel like Saliba will be. I think he'll be Arsenal's best centre-back at the club this time next year by a country mile, put it that way. So let's go. Let's move. We'll move briefly. We'll get through these clubs kind of quick smart. Let's go to Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth, of course, went up from the Championship into the Premier League, and there was a couple of players I could have gone with, but I've actually gone with, again, this is a player who's not underrated by any stretch. He's probably might be Bournemouth's best player, but he is someone that will break out at Premier League level and will be taken notice of at Premier League level, and I've gone with Lloyd Kelly. Now, captain of the club, he was massive for Bournemouth last season, absolutely enormous. Can play left back, left-sided centre-half, and like Saliba, he's the perfect modern-day centre-back. I feel like as a left-sided centre-half, you are more in demand to an extent. You're more wanted, just nature of the fact that you play on the left. But he'll be massive. He was massive for Bournemouth last season, was one of the reasons why they were able to get promoted. And I feel like if Bournemouth do stay up, Lloyd Kelly will have a lot, will be a major part of that. I feel like he'll be able to really he'll be able to win games or at least get points for Bournemouth, just purely out of talent, playing at that centre back position, and I feel like he will be able to win points just from the sheer nature that he will be able to make that last ditch tackle, be indestructible as a defender, and yeah, he will be very crucial for Bournemouth this season, and he will be a player like Saliba where we look at in 12 months' time. I think he's more than comfortable to play at Premier League level, more than comfortable at being a pretty good centre back at Premier League level, and while the England conversation is potentially too far-fetched for him at the moment, I feel like in 12 months' time he could be a smoky for an England selection. But let's go. Bournemouth into Aston Villa. Now, again, with a lot of players for Villa, there's been a lot of players for a couple of these sides, but for Villa, I was looking at a couple of players who could really kind of explode onto the scene, but I've gone with pretty much the obvious choice for Aston Villa, and that is Jacob Ramsey. I like I said, I haven't really spoken about Villa a lot in the previous podcast, especially last season. Didn't really speak about them a whole bunch, but I feel like he is the player for Villa. Like for what Jack Grealish was, I feel like Jacob Ramsey can be that. He's left-sided central midfielder, can get forward and impact, has unbelievable. He's kind of got that number 10 / false 9 instinct, but playing as a number 8. He's English, he's young. I think he's early 20s. I think I want to say 21, 22. And he'll be the future for this Aston Villa side. I think he will be unbelievable, especially in the back end of the season once he gets the miles in the legs, once he gets the Ks in the tank. And one of the big facets of his game, like I said, he does have that instinct and that nous of like a number 9 / false 9, but he's also very good at taking the ball, turning and driving. I feel like, especially against low blocks where you can't really pass through them because there's just so many players in so many players in the penalty box. Having that player that can just take the ball and just drive at the opposition, keep penning them back. He's kind of a player that is more suited to like a Liverpool, but playing in an Aston Villa. I think Villa need to do everything in their power to keep their hands on him, especially towards the back end of the next season, where he'll 100% be in demand from the bigger clubs in the league. But yeah, he is unbelievable, and I feel like he will be another player where we look at in 12 months' time and think, yeah, he is ready to explode on the Premier League stage. And hopefully Aston Villa, I don't think there are any chance of going down, but hopefully Villa have a good season and Ramsey can reap the rewards of that. Now, go to Brentford, and Brentford obviously had a great season in general last season. Obviously, they defied most expectations, I do believe. And I've gone with someone who not many people know, hasn't played for Brentford yet, recent signing. I've gone with Keane Lewis-Potter. Now, last season played at a pretty poor Hull side in the Championship. They didn't go up, didn't go down, kind of just were languishing in mid-table mediocrity. He's a left winger, scored 12 goals and got 3 assists the last season, created 7 big chances. And playing in a poor Hull side, like I said, who didn't really create a whole lot, weren't playing inspired football by any means. I feel like he can get to this Brentford side who are very exciting when they go forward. They're very direct. I feel like off that left wing, he's quick, he's exciting, he loves to cut inside. That is his game. Plays on the left, he's right-footed, can cut inside, really do some damage, and I think he'll surprise a few this season. While he might not be Brentford's best player or win player of the year by any stretch, I feel like in the appearances that he does have, he will be that player to kind of just edge his way into that starting 11, especially by the end of the season, and then by the start of next season be a very integral part to that Brentford team. I believe he's on like a 6-year deal, maybe a 7-year deal or something like that. And I mean, that is ridiculous, but I do think that's good business from Brentford. Still young, and he's got that long contract, so he can see it out. It really gives him time to improve and really establish himself in the Premier League. Or if should things not go right, that can just sell him on, and he'll still have years on his contract, so he'll still demand a big fee. But 12 goals, 3 assists last season. He's proven that he's a goal scorer. He's more of like an inside forward more than like an inverted winger. I think he could surprise a few this season and be a very handy player for Brentford. Now, Brighton. Obviously, Brighton are a fantastic team, and when in my opinion, we look at Brighton, I think they're so systematically good that I feel like when you look at a player that can have a breakout season, you look at a player that fits well in their system. Now, obviously, with the absence of Yves Bissouma, I've gone with Moses Calcedo. Well, I don't know how to pronounce his name exactly, but with the absence of Moses Salcedo, that's what I'm going with, or Salcedo, I don't know. But with the absence of Bissouma, I know exactly they aren't a like-for-like player, but he could fill that role, fill that void. I know he played a lot last season next to Yves Bissouma, but I feel like he could fill that void and be that central midfielder in that four at the back, or that 3-4-2-1 that Brighton like to play at times. And he can also play in a double pivot as well. And I just really like the way that he goes about it. Very unassuming, very just does his job, no issues. Like I said, he isn't exactly the same as Bissouma, but I feel like he could fill that void and be a very integral part for Brighton next season. And I think if Brighton do push on and get a European spot, which I do think they're definitely capable of, I feel like Salcedo will be a Salcedo. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I probably should have looked it up. That's poor from me. But I feel like he'll be a very integral part for Brighton next season. And if, like I said, if they should get into those European places, he'll be in very high demand. But I hope Brighton keep him because I feel like he suits Brighton's system perfectly. And he could be that real driving force to get Brighton into establishing them as a very good Premier League side. Now, let's go from Brighton to my team, Chelsea. And like I said with Chelsea, it's weird, and I feel like I came across this issue a lot with big teams and high teams high in the table. You can't really expect a breakout player because they're all really good. And I've gone with someone who might not actually play a whole bunch, and he might actually get loaned out and might actually get sold, but I've gone with Ethan Ampadu. Now, I understand he got relegated with Venezia last season, but he's coming back from loan, and I think he can be more than a capable player for Chelsea. He can play as a DM, central midfielder, or as a centre-back. He's versatile, and he's exactly what Thomas Tuchel wants. He's a ball-playing centre-back if he plays it, but he can also play as a single pivot, be that ball player as well as in a double pivot slightly further ahead. And he's very athletic, very physical. He's got some height about him. He's got that athleticism that Tuchel demands in his systems. And I think with 2.68 aerials won per 90 last year, ranking very high in Europe's top 5 leagues, I think that just shows that physical presence can be a kind of a difference maker in Chelsea's midfield, because if you look at Kovacic, Jorginho, Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, and N'Golo Conte, there's no real, there's not a Fabinho or a Rodri type operator in that midfield. I feel like Ampadu can, obviously he won't be as good as those two players, but he can be that presence that just calms things down and gives them a little bit of reassurance in the midfield area. So there you go. Let's go from Chelsea. I think you've figured it out, haven't you? It's alphabetical order. So next cab on the rank, Crystal Palace. And while this player might not be underrated as such, I feel like he's just going to explode. It's Eberechi Eze. Now, we all know the talent that he possesses, but he's coming back from an injury. Came back from an injury last year and played well towards the latter months of the season. He is the perfect player to unlock low blocks, in my opinion. He's that perfect player that can get onto the ball and just create out of nothing. He's so exciting, just brilliantly agile, fluid, technical, just is unbelievable when he gets the ball at his feet, and he can be that point of difference, that other team that could separate Palace from your 11th, 10ths to your potentially even 7th and 6th, in my opinion. I feel like Patrick Vieira has got that side playing so well that he could be that difference maker, and he will 100% be high in demand. But I hope Palace keep him, and I want Palace to keep him because I feel like he could be that. He could garner a, how do you call it, a cult hero status at Palace. He's got that swagger. He's got that contagious, and you just love him. You just want to see him play. You want to see him play well. So I feel like Eberechi Eze obviously came from QPR. I think it might have been the start of last season, or maybe even the season before. I feel like he could be that real difference maker. So, Everton. Now, Everton had a shocking season last year. They stayed up by the skin of their teeth. That's the saying, not scrape of their teeth. So I wasn't really couldn't understand who to go for. Could have gone with Anthony Gordon, but I feel like he's already broken out to an extent. So I've actually gone with Ben Godfrey. Now, He can play fullback, centre back. He's versatile. Can be an attacking player. Can be a defensive player, and he can do both very well, in my opinion. He's still young. He's English, and he's a player that Frank Lampard, in my opinion, should just build his system around. Should just build his defense around, because what he offers what he offers a lot of other defenders, especially at Everton, don't really offer. He offers that real eccentricity in a sense, but also security. It's quite bizarre how he plays, but obviously came from Norwich. He's come from that Norwich academy that has produced Jamal Lewis, Max Aarons, and other players as well. So I do really rate Ben Godfrey, and I just hope that Frank Lampard can get a defensive system that can suit him, because if he does, he's like the player that Lampard should build the foundations of his defence on. And if Everton have a good defensive record next season, or if they do well next season, I feel like Godfrey is going to be the main cog in that machine. Last season he had 2.13 blocks per 90, which just shows that he's willing to put his body on the line, good football IQ, and just defensively very solid as well. Let's go from Everton to Fulham, and I mean, I don't understand how Fulham signed João Palhinha, but they have, and he is a very, very good signing, like an exceptional signing for Fulham. It's beyond even comprehension how they managed to sign him, in my opinion, because he's the perfect defensive midfielder at that level. Like, even at any level, he's the perfect defensive midfielder, can play in a double pivot. He's proven to be good at the top level, came from Sporting Lisbon, and he hasn't got the attention that he deserves. Like, he's a fantastic player, And he could be the difference between relegation and staying up. I feel like if Fulham didn't make this signing, if they went with someone more Premier League proven or that type of player, it could have backfired on them. But I feel like this guy is so good, like just so good. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits. I do think they'll play a single pivot. I know that Fulham liked to play with a double pivot last year. I do think not Scott Parker, who's there? Marco Silva, is it? At Fulham? I actually don't know, but I feel like they'll kind of just slightly change their system to fit Palhinha into that team and really make him an integral part of it, because he's a fantastic player and he could, like I said, be that difference between relegation and promote and staying up even. So let's go to Leeds, and there's a couple of players could have gone with Tyler Adams, good signing. Could have gone with Sinistera, left winger, or right winger. He's a winger. That they signed as well. But I've gone with Mark Rocker. Now, again, similar to Palhinha, no real coverage in the media at all. But from what I've seen, from what I've read, is that he was very highly rated at Bayern Munich. They just couldn't find a place for him in the squad, and for Leeds to snap him up at really a cut price is really good business. Really, really good business. And it's such a Jesse Marsh signing. And what that screams is that firstly, it's his signing. It's not a board signing, which is obviously a good thing. But he obviously identified him as a player that could come into the system, come into the Premier League and make an impact straight away. He can be as a central midfielder, defensive midfielder. He can offer that attacking output ever so slightly, but he is much more solid defensively. And I don't really see that the media coverage that he deserves, because I feel like the fact that he was on Bayern Munich's list and the fact that he was playing for Bayern Munich last season just shows how good he is. And the only problem I have is that he hasn't really played a whole bunch of first-team football. So, I mean, I assume these pre-season games and like the early games in the season will be the ones where he really finds his feet, understands the system, and gets the Ks in the legs. But, yeah, I feel like this could be such a brilliant signing if he gets up and going. And Leeds, I'm very bullish about Leeds. And I feel like he's one of the reasons why. And I'll speak more about them in my Premier League predictions when I do them next week. But yeah, I'm very bullish on Leeds, and Mark Rocker is one of the reasons why. So let's go from Leeds to Leicester. Now, I've gone with Harvey Barnes, and I've put here in all caps, he will have a breakout season. I really, really like Harvey Barnes. I really like the way that he plays. I like the profile of him. He's not overly quick, but technically he's brilliant, and like on the ball, he's fantastic. Tactically as well, he understands his role and plays it to perfection. 16 goal contributions last season with Leicester, and considering they're in a they're coming towards the end of a little bit of a rebuild. Obviously, they won the league in 16. They are rebuilding that team, and they are going to kick on now under Brendan Rodgers, especially from the team that even finished 5th 2-3 seasons ago. He will be a key player for them this season, and in my opinion, he's a real smoky for the England squad come November, because he's a mix between an old school and a new school winger. He can play as a right midfielder. I reckon he could do a job at as a wing back as well. So, and obviously he's much more adept at playing as a out and out winger. So I do really, really like Harvey Barnes. I do think he's a smoky for my FPL squad as well, ever so quietly. But yeah, he will be fantastic for Leicester this season. Put your house on it, and yeah, I'm really excited to see how he develops. He's obviously shown that he can produce magic, like I said, with the 16 goal contributions last season. So Harvey Barnes will be, I reckon Harvey Barnes will win Leicester's player of the season come 12 months time. So we'll see if I get that right. Okay, let's go from Liverpool. Let's go to Liverpool. We're getting towards the back end of the Premier League table. How long have we gone for? Just over 20 minutes. So let's go with Liverpool. Now, I found this issue with Chelsea, and I found this issue with Man City as well. Spoilers, but with Liverpool, I was like, all right, who will have a breakout season? I was like, I could have gone Darwin Núñez, but I thought, he's too obvious. Could have gone with Luis Diaz, but I reckon he's already broken out in the Premier League. So I've actually gone with Kostas Tsimikas. Now, obviously he won't start. Andy Robertson has that position on down lock. Is that even the same? But he has that position, no questions asked. But I feel like he would start in pretty much every Premier League team, bar maybe the top 4. So that's the top 4 that finished last season. So City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Spurs. I feel like he's better than Luke Shaw and Tellez. I feel like he offers more than Tierney. Maybe he wouldn't start ahead of Zinchenko, but I wrote this run sheet before that. I wrote the run sheet before Zinchenko signed, but I feel like he would challenge Zinchenko for a position, no doubt. So he's very good attacking, defensive. Under the Klopp system, he just works. He just works. And while it might be slightly biased because I am a Greek and I want to see a Greek do well, I just feel like he just works for Klopp. And should Robertson go down, I mean, let's hope he doesn't, but he's more than a capable deputy, and he will challenge Robertson for a position this season. No questions asked. He's the perfect cut player. I reckon he'll do a job. He does a job in the Champions League, no doubt as well. And just that energy, the good vibes, everything about him just screams positive. So, yeah, I've gone with Kostas Tsimikas for Liverpool. So, Man City. Like I said, can't really say anyone because they're all elite. Will anyone have a breakout season? You could say Haaland, but can't really say that, right? So I've just gone with Julian Alvarez. I just feel like he's the only player that could have gone. I think he might win it by default, but yeah, I could have gone some of their youngsters. I know Liam Delap has gone out on loan, I do think, to Burnley, I believe, or to another club, but I've gone with Alvarez. I just think he's going to be very good. I think people are sleeping on him because of the Haaland signing. He'll be a more than capable number 2, and if they want to rest Haaland, and we all know Haaland's injury record, should he go down at some point throughout the season, and Pep wants to persist with an actual out-and-out number 9, Alvarez will come in, play that role, no problems. He was killing it in South America last season. He's been killing it pretty much his entire footballing career, right? So his move to a big team was imminent, and he's gone to City, and I feel like he'll do wonders for them next season in the games that he starts. I don't necessarily how many games he'll start. He'll be a perfect cup player, especially in the early rounds of the FA Cup and the League Cup. And yeah, I really like this signing. I feel like it's very shrewd. Let's go from the blue half to the red half of Manchester, and I've put down here Donny van de Beek. Surely it's set up for Donny to succeed, right? Surely it's set up for him to just go bang. I know they signed Eriksen. I know Bruno kind of plays in his position as well. But if there's ever a time for Donny's footballing ability to be fulfilled and to really be shown on the big stage, it's got to be now. If he was ever going to have a good season and become a really good and really established Premier League player, it's now. Ten Hag knows his system, knows how he plays fantastically well. He'll fit into Ten Hag's system like a glove. So I don't necessarily see how any way this couldn't work. But, like, surely, right? If it's ever going to happen, if it doesn't happen this season, I just feel like it's another player that we can not discard, but just say it just hasn't worked out for him at the top level. Surely it works out for him, right? You'd think. Let's go to Newcastle, and I've gone with Joel Linton. Now, this might be a little bit funny in a sense, but Joel Linton, I've put down here, Joel Linton will establish himself as a premier midfielder in the league next season. He will establish himself as one of the best midfielders. Maybe not one of the best, but an elite midfielder next season. He has all the attributes to succeed under Eddie Howe, especially as a box-to-box midfielder. He's tall, he's physically capable, when he played up front, he couldn't control the ball to save his life. All of a sudden, he's like a prime Zidane in midfield. He just has transformed himself to no end last season under Eddie Howe, and it's just fantastic to see. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he actually starts. I do think Eddie Howe will persist with him. I do know Bruno Guimaraes, John Joe Shelby, Joel Linton was the preferred midfield towards the back end of last season. And if they do sign a central midfielder, I could see Guimaraes dropping deeper, Joel Linton and that, like, let's just say Yuri Tielemans playing alongside him. I just really like Joel Linton. I love the story. I love the backs against the wall type aura that he has about him. And it would be very, very good to see him establish himself as a very good midfielder in the Premier League next season, which I do think he will. Now, let's go to Nottingham Forest. Now, obviously, Forest came from the depths of nowhere, really, towards the back end of last season, and really just created something magical under Steve Cooper. They were bottom of the league, I think, or at least in the relegation zone when he took over, and they got him all the way promoted. Now, one of the players who I think will catapult his game into the Premier League is Omar Richards. Now, not a lot of people are speaking about him. I don't think a lot of people are speaking about Nottingham Forest in general. I feel like they are being slightly disrespected in a sense. But he's a left wing back and will be integral to Steve Cooper's system. He'll be very, 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 very good next season. I can guarantee that. He has all the attributes to succeed at Premier League level. And while he isn't proven there, I feel like he's one of those players that is capable of taking the next step, capable of really kind of pushing the doubters aside and pushing the haters aside and just kind of doing his job, doing what he needs to do and really being a solid player for Nottingham Forest next season. Let's go. Southampton. We're getting towards the back end now, 4 teams remaining. Let's go to Southampton. And I've gone with Mohamed Salisu. That's how you pronounce his name, Mohamed Salisu. Now, left back / left-sided centre-half, he will be integral to Southampton this season. I feel like last year he was good, and last year he was one of the reasons why Southampton were able to play the way they were, because they had that defensive security of Salisu there, and if he plays well this season, Southampton will be given the best chance at surviving. I don't necessarily think that Southampton's squad is overly good, if you were to call it that, but I feel like if they were ever going to stay up, or if they're going to stay up, Salisu is going to be an integral part of that, and he's going to be a player that, if he plays well, the team will play well, and if he doesn't play well, the team will slightly underperform. I feel like he will be in demand next season 100%, and he's still young as well, which, I mean, it only helps that price tag for Southampton. I feel like should he keep Southampton up, and should he be in demand next season, I feel like they could demand a pretty hefty price tag, because he's everything you want in a defender this year, or in the modern game. Defensively sound, offensively pretty good, can carry the ball, can pass the ball, left-sided, tick, 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 in my opinion. Now, let's go to Tottenham. And I could have gone with a couple of players. Could have gone with someone like a Kulusevski. I could have gone with someone like a I don't know, Matt Doherty, if I wanted to be wrong. But I've gone with Jed Spence. Now, was fantastic in the Championship last season with Nottingham Forest, I believe. And he might not play every single game, but when he does, he will be a fantastic option. Attacking-wise, he's more than capable. He's one of the better attacking wing-backs on the market, especially an English one. And under Conte, I mean, if you want to improve your defensive game and your defensive intelligence, move to an Antonio Conte system, because he will do that straight away. And he got promoted with Forest, like I said, and he'll go up against them, which is pretty interesting to see how that dynamic works. But I feel like he's capable of taking that next step and really being that, how do you call it, that difference maker for Spurs that a lot of people haven't really noticed in a sense, but we'll come to notice towards the back end of next season, and when he establishes himself as one of the premier left backs or premier wing backs of the league, in my opinion, especially as a deputy. So let's go. 2 teams remaining. West Ham. Ben Johnson. Now, I think by the end of the season, despite him being a natural right back, he will replace Aaron Cresswell as a left back. I think he is so defensively solid that it's like he's another centre half. He's another centre back, but he also provides that kind of offensive spurt, like that spark. He doesn't offer it consistently, and that's potentially the only area of his game where he needs to improve. But defensively, he's so good. And I feel like he'll play left back. I think he'll replace Aaron Cresswell. I feel like we saw at the back end of last season that Cresswell wasn't necessarily up to it, especially at the level that West Ham want to be. I feel like Johnson will elevate his game to no end and really take over that place. And he's so defensively solid that I reckon he'll be in contention for the England squad come the World Cup, because he can play left back and play right back, and if he does stake his name at left back, you look at England have Ben Chilwell, Luke Shaw, and that's pretty much it as like a solid left back. You have Kieran Trippier as well, I guess, but he's super reliable, and once he gets that offensive game down pat to a consistent level, I feel like he'll be a very, very good player for West Ham, and one of those players that will come through quite young and just explode. So keep an eye out for Ben Johnson. So let's end just over 30 minutes. I wanted to keep this one short because this episode could have gone on for an hour or could have gone on for 20 minutes. So I feel like I've gone the perfect amount of sweet spot, if you call it that. But for Wolves, I've gone with another fullback, gone with Ryan Aitnouri. Now, Ryan Aitnouri, that's his name. So I feel like he could be the catalyst for Wolves to be a more attacking team next season. The defensive nature of their system means their offensive players didn't really get a look in, but I feel like if they were slightly to adjust their system, if Bruno Lage was going to be slightly more risky in a sense of his system, I feel like he could be that real catalyst. He can play fullback and wingback both to a brilliant level. And if he can get his offensive side of his game showing, because it's there, the talents are there, he just needs to get it going. And if he can get it going, he'll be a fantastic player for Wolves, no doubt about it. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Bruno Lage is able or is willing to do that to his trusted system that got him top 10, I believe, last season, or at least it would have been around about that mark. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Wolves go with their system, and if it's slightly more attacking, I feel like Aitnouri could be the player for them next season. So, yes, we're done. Just a tick over 33 minutes. Thank you all. Should I end it there? Oh, is there any other transfer news? Well, here's a behind the curtain. Last podcast, which spoke about the Chelsea and Man United, filmed same day. So I've gone back to back. I've spoken for about 3 hours straight. In my study, speaking to a camera, and this light above my camera is going to make me go for square eyed. So there you go. But I feel like we're done. I feel like that is a perfect way to start the new season. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave your thoughts on the players. Who'd I get wrong? Who'd I miss out? Who'd I get right? Give me some credit. I feel like I deserve some. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna be back again. I know we're gonna be back again next week, giving my full Premier League predictions, start to finish, 20-1, in-depth analysis of every team. That podcast could go for an hour and a half, but I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to expose myself in my lack of Premier League knowledge next week, and just show how wrong I can be. But yes, thank you all very much for watching. If this is your first episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, get on board with the journey for this season as we see just how interesting this European season or this football season can be. We obviously got the World Cup in between, so we'll touch on that. We'll do coverage on the World Cup. Don't worry about that. It's going to be pretty good. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Like, comment, share it. First episode of the new series. Let's get around it. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, 2 Foot Tackle Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, Twitter, 2FTPod. They're all the socials. They're all the plugs I needed to do. Tick over 35 minutes. Thank you all very much for watching. Appreciate you sticking around. Make sure you jump on board for the next season. It's going to be good fun. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I've rambled enough. Goodbye.